course.
We met at FinCon briefly, but it was an awesome conference.
Yeah.
And yeah, thanks for joining us. So what we usually do when we have a guest on, Ruben, is we'll just start off by you kind of telling your story, 10 or 15 minutes, your background, and kind of, focusing on the real estate, financial independence, frugality, entrepreneurship, mindset kind of stuff. That's what we're all about. Can definitely tell them about, I think you do some coaching as well. And we're interested in hearing the story about how you lost your tooth and got mugged and beat up or something. So maybe you can save that till the end, but yeah, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Okay. So what's up, everybody? Throw up your hand. Hey, what's up? All right, cool. Yeah, so Ruben Garcia here. Yeah, I'll get into the tooth story a little bit later, but let's see, man. I'm going to keep this short and sweet because really I just want to hear from everyone what your questions are, so that way you leave with value. You leave with what you wanted to show. You showed up here. You I'm sure you might have questions, and I want you to leave with those answers. So, really quick. All right, let's see. My first job was UPS at 18. However, I quickly found out, I quickly found out, it was years and years and years later that I found out that I did not want to stay at UPS. I was there for 12 years. I thought that would be my gig. Like I was like, I broke down the numbers. I knew that I would be a millionaire when I retired. I was excited. And then I had a kid. At like late 19 years old. So yeah, 12. Tell me about it. Yeah. Tell me about it. Listen, I know. But yeah, I was, as soon as I had a kid, I was a single father. So I knew I had to spend a lot of time with her, obviously. And so I said, man, what else is out there that I could be free to do what I desire to do, but also make a good income? People say I'd be good at sales because I sold everything I feel like, man, I would just buy like Gatorades in bulk, put them in the back of my car in like a cooler, and just sell it to all the UPS drivers. And I would cut the market, which were the vending machines, by a quarter within our building. So I would just sell them. So I was always good at like doing that stuff. And they said, well, why don't you sell something? I was like, man, if I'm going to sell something, I'm going to try to sell the biggest thing I could find, which at the time, my mindset, it was a house. A house was the biggest thing. So that's why I got into real estate. Had nothing to do with the passion of real estate. It was a means out of UPS. Did that and did the single father gig, UPS, and also did real estate for about 10 months before I saved up enough cash to quit UPS. And I quit UPS, left the pension, left the salary, left all the good stuff, the stock rewards. I left it all. And I just went 100% commission as a single father, which a lot of people thought I was nuts, but whatever. You got to be a little nuts, right? Did that and everything worked out. Was rookie of the year my first year. Helped grow a real estate team shortly after. And about 2 years in real estate, became the CEO of an office with about 130 agents. We broke all-time records every month. Did that for about 2 years. Then moved into like a coaching for real estate agents thing. Did that out of 2 offices. Broke all-time records, had a lot of great agents working with me, and then left that firm and went to another firm, which is the firm I'm with now. Been here for 2 years, and I'm in the top 0.5% of all EXP, so all EXP influencers with the company. And yeah, big focus on passive income for the last 2 years because I had this thing in my head. I went to who knows Grant Cardone? Raise your hand. Right, I figured. So I went to one of his conferences called GrowthCon about 2 years ago in Miami, Florida, and I got tested in the audience. It was a great conference, but man, you go to these things to network. Ain't that right, Dan? Right? Like this is look where I'm at, right? Because we met. So we were networking, and a guy in the audience was like, "Hey, I got a question," because we were talking, right? I thought I was a big shot. You go to these things and you think you're a big shot, right? And he was like, "Hey, so what happens if your plane goes down on the way home?" And I was like, well, I guess I die. He was like, that's right, you die. Yeah. And then your family, how are they taken care of? And then boom, everything hit me. I was like, well, because my business was so active, I was like, well, I guess there's no more income. And he was like, he looked at me straight in my eyes. He was like, and you call yourself a father? and a
Wow.
husband. And I was like, shot to the heart, I was like tore up, and I was like, you know what? I got to make a change. So that was the big focus about 2 years ago. It was more of the passive side. We hit goal, we exceeded goal. And now we're getting a little bit more creative and renting out RVs now. But you'll hit a certain amount in passive income that you could just be a little bit more risky and try new different things and be creative. So yeah, that's a very quick story of where I came from and kind of just a very broad look at the whole story to where I'm at now.
Awesome. And then you got to tell us the story behind the tooth missing. And I mean,
Yeah,
it sounds kind of traumatic. I don't want to like, but
at the end of the day, I'm alive.
yeah.
As long as I'm alive and I can roll out of my bed and my feet hit the ground, what do I got to be mad about? You know what I mean? So, yeah. So,
Yep.
y'all see that?
Yep.
I'm missing my front teeth. So I even got a cool smile now. And this is a fake tooth that I just got. I'm gonna put it back in. I'm gonna tell my story. All right. So I think I was like 19 or 20 years old. I don't even remember. I was walking around. Where is anyone from North Carolina at all? I know that's kind of or know anybody in North Carolina? No? Okay. You do? Yay, sir. Okay. So
there's a couple. Sorry, there's a couple in South Carolina, but
South Carolina.
Oh, okay. Okay. We used to have a regional meetings. Yeah, that's right. We used to have a regional meetings in Fort Mill, South Carolina, for the last firm I was with. But yeah, so I was walking around Raleigh and I saw this car start flying up to us, and it said on it, for sale and like get a great deal. And it had all this writing on the windshield. I was like, that's stolen because it was just flying up to us. And I was like, here it goes. We're about something not so good is about to happen. And I had like 3 or 4 friends with me. Yep. And it was stolen. And they came out and guns a-blazing, and they're like, give me all your stuff. Give me all your stuff. And I was a young kid and I was not happy about what was going on. So we gave everything up except my necklace that my mom gave me at the time. And he was like, give me your necklace. And I just stared at his eyes, which you don't do at a robbery. You just stare at them. And he said, give it to me. And I just didn't give it to him. I didn't move. And then he just pulled it off my neck. He was like, look down. And I would not look down for anything. I was just so pissed and mad that this was happening to me. Which don't do that. I was straight up in emotion at the moment. And anyways, they just took all our stuff and they told us to run. They said, run. All my buddies were like, peace. And they took off. But I stayed and I just stared. I just kept staring at him, which again, probably not the smartest thing to do. Well, anyways, they kept saying run. So I just turned around and just started walking away. And then they started shooting at me. Luckily, they were a bad shot. They missed. I just went to the ground and just kind of covered up, just took cover. And then they ran up on me. And who's seen American History X? Anybody see that movie? Okay. All right. Well, there's a scene where they tell this kid to bite the curb and then they stomp the back of his head. Right. Yeah. Not a pretty picture. So that's kind of what happened to me. They just stomped the back of my head while I was on the cement, and I felt this not go so well. So I just turned my head. So as they stomped, it wouldn't, break more of my teeth or dig my teeth into the concrete. So I knew they'd stop, and they stopped, and luckily they didn't shoot me. They just ran away, and I just pushed my front teeth forward with my bottom teeth and kept it going. Went to bed that night, woke up in the morning and went to the dentist like 2 days later. They took rocks out of my teeth, and then I just kept it going. They never took x-rays. That was about almost 20 years ago, right? And then about a month ago, my front tooth started getting loose out of nowhere, and they took an x-ray, and they were like, dude, this thing's been broken for a long time. And I knew exactly what it was broken from. And here's the picture. If you guys want to see it, I immediately wanted to take a picture of it. Yeah. So it's broken in half, if you could tell. And
Wow.
they were like, we got to pull. They're like, we got to pull it. I was like, can't we just let the bottom half fall out and we'll just keep the top one in there? They're like, no, you idiot, we got to pull it. So they end up pulling it, and I'm gonna get a permanent one put in, but it's gonna be like another month and a half or so. So, but at the end of the day, guys, like I'm alive. I get to do what I love to do with people I love. Like, who cares? I don't know what happened to them, but who cares? Maybe they needed that mess more than I did. But if you look at me now, guys, I don't wear jewelry. I don't wear rings. I just don't. In my mind, so there's a book called Extreme Ownership. Has anybody read that book?
Jocko. Yeah.
Yeah, Jocko, right? So he says basically everything's your fault. And so I was like, man, what can I take away from that? In my mind, I was a target, right? Like I just flashy necklace and crazy rings, and like I was just too flashy. I was too much of a target. So now you won't see me with wearing anything like that. I make my own bands, but they're stretchy, and these things ain't worth nothing. So, and then my ring is just a regular old what they call them, coil rings or something, but it's just a rubber ring. I don't carry around anything like that anymore. So
Yeah,
that's my story.
All right, Ruben, thanks.
Yeah,
I definitely have some questions about the real estate stuff, because it's really impressive how quickly you went from starting to uber successful, is what it sounds like. So there had to be some strategy or some lessons there, and I'm sure a lot of hustle too. But give us a rundown. So where do you live in North Carolina still?
Yep. In Fayetteville, North Carolina, right outside of Fort Bragg. So
okay.
Yeah.
And do you invest? You invest in real estate yourself?
Yep, we run short-term rentals right now. We turned all our long-term into short-term. Cash flow is too good right now.
Okay. And so can you tell us how many properties is that, and how was that transition from long-term to short-term?
It was easy once I understood. So you might hear me say this, or other people say this. It's like, what's your Northern Star? When that guy kind of chin checked me at the Grant Cardone event, my Northern Star became, how do I create enough passive that I could die? I could die and the money comes in and the family's pretty taken care of. Like, what do I need to do to make sure that happens? So in terms of like the hustle and like, was it hard and in the quick amount of time, I had a big enough Northern Star to focus on. Everything that comes across your plate, once you figure out what that Northern Star is, it runs through that filter. Does it help me get to that point of X amount in passive or not? You might see the flashy stuff and you might want to jump in it, but it doesn't match the Northern Star. So it was pretty quick to move into that. We only have 4 properties right now that run the short-term rentals. However, we have other passive income coming in as well, other than those 4. But I'll say our first thing was like, how much money do we have going out as a family? Because financial freedom isn't, at least for us, isn't $1 million or something like that. All you got to do is ask yourself, how much money is going out of the household? Once we broke that down, is about $2,000 going out. Because remember, 2 kids, wife, me, and I eat a lot. And I like cars, right? So I got a Jeep and all this. So anyways, you look at all that and about $2,000 going out. So if I can make $2,000 a month passive, we're financially free. I could die. Not to be morbid, but I could die. And the family still has enough passive income coming in. That was goal 1. But the only way we were going to hit that goal, and there was another guy there at FinCon, actually a whole group, Shelby Osborne, she does a lot of stuff with Bigger Pockets. You do?
I haven't met her. Yeah.
Okay. But we formed an accountability group to build passive income. And yeah, she is a rock star. And we established what we call a PC. So the P is to make a promise to somebody other than yourself, because you'll let yourself down, won't you? Like, you've let yourself down before. So now we know that doesn't work. You need to make a promise to someone who could care less about your feelings. Shelby is one of those. Mike is one of those. All they know is that you said your Northern Star is this and your goal is this. Then what do we have to do to make it happen? Excuses, everything else is out the window. So make a promise to someone like that. And the C, calendar. So when are you going to get X done by? Right? So all we did was build a PC around our goals. First goal, $2,000. The great thing about goals, though, is once you hit them, you kind of get a little high off that. And you're like, man, if I can do that, I've not really reached my fullest potential. what's the next step? Maybe it's 2,500. And then we focus on that. And it's 3, and then 5, and then 10. And you just keep focusing on these until you just keep growing and growing and growing. So that 4 properties, the hustle's worth it as long as you know you're a Northern Star. Run a PC and surround yourself with people with that same type of mindset, that same type of hustle, no victim mindsets. And there's no emotion in this. Guys, we're helping each other hit levels that other people aren't going to push each other to hit. So it's going to get a little uncomfortable, and we're going to bump heads sometimes, but that's kind of the nature of the accountability group.
Awesome.
Let me know if I'm staying on track, man. Just keep me.
Yeah, no, I will. I want to take a quick time out and say happy birthday to Abby. You look nice, by the way. I'm sure you were
Happy
having
birthday, Abby.
Special time with your family, but you're still joining our group.
Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Happy birthday.
And it was Leo's birthday yesterday. So we got 2 birthdays
The 4th, right?
on the call, which is awesome.
The 4th.
The what?
That's awesome.
The 4th. His birthday was the 4th.
December 4th.
Oh, so it's like a week ago. Okay. All right. So I'm going to open it up for like the Q&A session. We have a little bit of a smaller group tonight, so I'm going to let the members, you can just unmute yourself or type in the chat, whatever works best, and fire off your questions. Yeah, I'm hoping you ask some good real estate ones because that's what I want to know about. And I might chime in 1 or 2 as well. So who wants to start us off? This is where we learn.
I think Terry's got his hand up, or his virtual hand, his yellow hand.
Yeah. Oh, you're on mute though, Terry.
Muted the other mic. I muted both mics. You said you were a part of EXP Realty, correct?
Correct.
Funnily enough, my dad just recently passed his, I'm trying to remember all the proper terms for it, but took his realtor's like exam and passed it. And he's basically registering as like an official realtor in the state of Kentucky. Awesome. And signing up for MLS. And he was recently introduced to EXP. And I think there was a guy at our church that was a part of them. And he, just kind of got introduced into that. I don't know much about the group, but as far as I know, he submitted an application to join like a local EXP group here in Kentucky. And I was just wanting to know or curious if you had any advice for him or how, or even just maybe to explain a little bit more how it works so I could learn too.
Yeah. So 2 things. Yeah. One is the advice I would give to him is to not be afraid to switch mentors, right? Because when you join EXP, especially as a new agent, you have to be with a mentor for your first 3 transactions. Not all mentors are created equal. And sometimes they feel a little uncomfortable saying that, this one isn't really hitting on much or not giving them what they need because they're a new agent and they don't want to kind of ruffle the water. Screw it. Your business is on the line. Your life is on the line. If they're not hitting it for you, I would say move on. Don't be afraid to move on. Right. And I think, honestly, this generation is so good at that. Like, even if they work a job and they're like, I don't like this, they'll move on. Gone are the days you have to stay somewhere for 30 plus years to retire. Right. That's just not a thing. If it doesn't fulfill you or that mentor doesn't fulfill him, move on. Find another one and keep going until you find the right one. And sometimes it's not the first one.
Cool. Appreciate that.
But EXP is a virtual brokerage. All right. So that was a big disruption in the real estate world, because obviously you're going to hear people who are very used to, you need the brick and mortar, you need the front desk, you need this. And that's a lot of overhead and a lot of liability. Believe me, who ran a firm for a while. So this is totally different. Not only that, there's 9 different ways to get paid through EXP. So you get ownership. So you do get stock, you get discounted stock, you get free stock, you get dividends, quarterly dividends on the stock. And the owners of EXP are buying up a lot of cool things. We have our own virtual world. We've had it before now you're starting to hear a lot of the metaverse stuff. We've had this. Now we don't put on goggles, but we're walking through and we've got avatars and we've been doing this for years. So when the pandemic hit, our stock shot up from like $12 to 170, and then it did a 2-to-1 split. So there's a lot of, for all of you, there's a lot of good in disruption. Whenever you see the masses move one way, don't be afraid to look the other way. There's a lot of opportunity. They say with every obstacle, there's an opportunity. So it's a virtual brokerage, man. If you want to check it out, you can go to my YouTube at Proven by Ruben. And I break down a couple of and your dad too. I break down a couple of things that are going on within EXP, layman terms, from a simple man from the South. So I'm sure he might understand exactly what I'm saying. It's not too technical, so perfect. It's great. And there's a passive income element to it, which is aligned with my Northern Star. And we're doing good on the passive income side too.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's a couple of things I want to throw in there. That advice you gave about a mentor and firing a mentor, basically, I think is great advice no matter what niche you're in. If you're spending time with a mentor or a coach and it's just not working, then don't be afraid to fire them. Don't use those words, but move on to someone else. And then EXP, Ruben, do you know Craig Kurlop?
Yeah, the FI guy.
Yeah, the FI guy. So he's a good friend of mine, and he's a good friend of this mastermind. He's with EXP.
I'll be on his podcast. Yeah, we're both. Yeah, I'll be on his podcast. I don't know, in like 2 weeks or so.
Okay,
he's a great dude.
Yeah, he's great. And then the last thing I was going to say, that phrase or that idea you threw out there of when the masses are going this way, don't be afraid to look the other way. There is a Warren Buffett quote that is perfect and says that exact same thing. Does anybody know that quote? Because I love it. I just can't think of what it is.
Is it the one that goes when people are fearful, that's when you should be greedy?
Yep, that's it.
Yeah,
Jabbar knows it. And when they're greedy, you should be fearful.
Blood in the streets.
When there's blood in the streets. Yep, that's what he said.
Yeah.
It's huge, man. And I'm gonna make a video about every move that we've made, where we've made, like you were like, man, that seems like there's a lot of success in just a few years. It's because we weren't afraid to step into disruption. That's been our fastest growth points, is moving in something that people thought you were bananas to do, crazy to do. And when you start hearing that, you start getting excited because you're like, oh, okay, everyone sees that as bananas. Perfect.
Can you give Ruben, can you give like a specific example of that, when like 2, 3, 4 years ago, when you like went somewhere that no one else was going, and how it worked out?
Yeah. So there's been so many examples, like UPS full time, or I had the in. And in my town, you can make $1,100-$1,200 a week. That's balling. That's balling out of control, right? And I was like, oh, I can get there. I was going there, 401k, stock options that were reduced that we could get it at a discount, and healthcare, the best. I threw it all away, right? Mm-hmm. Everyone, even family, thought that was nuts. So then I started with Coldwell Banker. Then I tried to brand myself like this. This is my own brand that I sell, right? By the way, any state can have this where it says real estate. But I tried branding myself at Coldwell. No, they all thought I was nuts. You got to push Coldwell. That's the only way. So I left and went to Keller Williams, where you can brand yourself, right? And then I became the CEO in just 1.5 years or 2 years. They were like, no, there's no way. How can you? You've only done it for X amount. I was like, then I'm moving. I said, I'm moving. I'm going to a different firm. They're like, all right, calm down. So there was that. And then leaving brick and mortar to go to virtual, EXP. They thought it was nuts. That was crazy. You don't do that. Then turning our long terms into short-term rentals many years ago before it caught on. They thought it was ridiculous. That would never work. The RVs. It's a 6-figure RV. People are like, are you crazy? You don't freaking rent out a 6-figure RV. We're doing it, and we got 4 bookings in the last 6 weeks during slow season. But it's because we move into disruption. We constantly move into disruption. So there's a few examples right there. But I'm going to make a video breaking down kind of life story of moving into disruption and how it's worked out for us. And probably going to put numbers to it.
I love that. I think that should be your next shirt, is move into disruption. That should be your next tagline for your brand. All right. Daniel's been waiting patiently. Oh, he's writing it down. Good, good. I like it. Daniel's been waiting patiently with his virtual hand up. So, Daniel, go ahead.
What's up, Ruben?
What's up, man? We connected on IG, didn't we?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for jumping on.
Of course.
Just a question about short-term rental versus long-term. I've got 4 units now, 2 house hacks, and I'm kind of deciding whether to Airbnb out this current unit when we leave or do a long-term rental. So my question is more on the finance side. Like, at what point does it make sense to go short-term? Now, obviously, you'd make way more cash flow, but you have expenses, housekeeping, all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So do you have kind of a certain metric, like, hey, it's got to hit like 30% more than what I would have cash flowed long-term to make it worth it? Or like, how do you think through that, and kind of how do you run your numbers? Because obviously you said you transitioned a lot to short-term.
Yeah, all of them. Because this, again, it's going to be a common theme. It's what my Northern Star said to do. The cash flow on the long-term rentals were a couple $100s a month, and now netting $1,200 a month on those units. But it only matched with my Northern Star, right? If I died, meaning we brought in a rental management company, the whole thing can run without me being here. So as long as the numbers work with a long-term rental, it'll be just fine as a short-term rental, and it ran fine as a long-term rental, our first few that we moved over, and then we just started buying units. But that was why it just matched with my goal. So you would have to write down, ultimately, what is your goal?
Ultimately, on our 5 duplexes, so we have 2. The goal in the next 3 years is to move into 3 more. So 5 duplexes, each cash flow about $1,000 a month. So 60,000 net for the year, pre-tax. And then after they're paid off, obviously that'll double. So 5,000 a month.
Right. So, but what about that 5,000 a month is important to you?
The reason why I said that initially, I work a W-2 job in corporate finance. That was my starting salary. So I thought, hey, if we can kind of replace that, then that'll allow me to, basically do whatever I want, which I think I'm going to be able to get out of that quicker. Actually, 6 months is my goal on that, but that was the initial goal.
Okay. And then by turning that unit into a short-term rental, does it get you to that goal faster?
I think it could. I definitely think it could. I definitely need to build out systems around that for housekeeping, for all the extra management of that. But if I can put those systems in place, I think so. Who's
on Clubhouse? Raise your hand. Okay, few. So on there, they talk a lot about you managing your own property, and that's the best thing to do. I tend to disagree. So, with the hiring of the cleaning people, with the hiring of the contractors who go in there, with the people who go in there and start labeling everything, put the sound machines in there so they know decimals, how many people are actually in the unit, the Ring doorbells, the blah, 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 the controlling of the heating and air system through a phone, all that a rental management company can do, a short-term rental management company can do, and they can do all that for you. And their cost is a write-off, right? Their percentage they get is a write-off, but what does it do? It buys time for you. That's what you're doing. You're buying more time for yourself, and then you can focus on buying more units or whatever else that next Northern Star is, whatever that is. You're going to need time to think about how to do that. You don't need to be spending your time towards, I wonder if Susie can clean my unit today. You know what I mean? Like, that's not a good use of your time. So use somebody else who's already found that to be their strength, hire them on, write them off, meaning tax purposes, don't write them off. You know what I mean? Tax purposes, write them off, and then use the time to scale to the next level. Who's heard of the 80-20 rule? Right? 20% of your activities drive 80% of your results. So if you want to spend time finding cleaners, then you're just going to find more cleaners, right? Like, if you find more cash flow properties and you stay in that 20%, or more properties with more equity that we can start becoming our own bank and pulling the equity out to fund new deals, right? Burst strategy stuff, then that's my 20%, and that's all I need to focus on. If you stay highly focused within that, then you'll be fine. I used to do this because I didn't even know what the 80-20 rule was, but I used to just have a piece of paper. This is all I got right now, but a piece of paper, and I used to draw a line at the bottom, fold it, put it in my pocket. anything that came across my plate that didn't fund me leaving UPS at the time, I put underneath that line, and I just didn't worry about it till maybe tomorrow, 2 days, 4 days, 6 days down the road. But anything that was going to make me money in the next 30 days, I wrote at the top, and that's what I focused on. And I'm just asking you to maybe consider the same thing. Hire a rental management company and focus on what your next goal is. It sounds like turn it into a short-term rental is going to get you there faster. Do that, hit goal, leverage the management side, and then figure out what your next Northern Star, your next goal is.
Love that. And roughly, what do you pay a property manager for short-term rental management?
Yep. So there's a few virtual ones that do like 20% off the top, 20%. But you're buying time back, right? So the one that we have is 25%. We just hired one, and now I'm talking to another investor that he's thinking about making one, but just for his closed circle, and that'll be a flat fee. It won't be a percentage. So that's what I'm leaning towards, because we're getting mediocre results for what we're paying.
Sweet. Thank you, Ruben. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, you're very welcome. And then follow the story on YouTube, because we're documenting all this. So we're throwing it out there. We're throwing numbers out there. We're throwing the losses, the wins, all of that. We're not sugarcoating it. So congrats, though. That's great what you're doing, man. That's fantastic. I love it. I saw a comment come in. I don't know. Oh, okay. See you, Sarah. And she's gone. Oops.
Ruben, tell us more about the 6-figure RV. What's that thing all about?
All right, a few things came to mind. One, I love this, and I don't know if Dan, if we talked about it, but I want to travel the country, going to schools and talking to kids about entrepreneurship or business or something, finance, like something that the obviously the school isn't teaching you. Mm-hmm. Right? Like I was definitely never encouraged in school to go after some of the creative things that I was building, So I was just told to shut up and get a 90 or above on the test, right? It just didn't. And I am not a smart guy when it comes to that stuff. So I want to talk to more kids. I don't know. Anyways, that's part of the goal. So the RV fits that Northern Star, but we're not there to travel yet. So to stick with my, I guess, smaller Northern Star of cash flow, we said, you know what? We got to get a unit that the market would accept. What would a market accept more? And let me know what you guys think. One that they can drive, or one that they would have to hook up with a truck and pull around? Which one do you think I'd capture more of the market with?
I think as a rental, probably one they would drive, but.
Yeah. And that's what we did. We were like, man, not everybody's got a truck.
Yep.
Just put them in the driver's seat and boom, they can rent it. So that's what we have. It's called a Class C. I'm just now learning about all this stuff. Made good through our insurance company and all of this. And we put it on outdoorsy.com, went live about 6 or 7 weeks ago, but it's $107,000 RV. Brand new. It was, I don't know, 200 miles on the thing, but it matches with my Northern Star and we can cash flow it in the time being. Right now, and if you go again, YouTube, Proven by Ruben, we just come out with our last episode where I broke down the numbers where we could pay this thing off in 6 years. So if we could do what we're doing, keep growing what we're growing, in about probably less than that, but let's just say 6 years, I got a paid off unit that I could go travel the world with, and I didn't pay it off.
Yeah.
Renters did. And by the way, we're selling merchandise. I don't have the logo up here, but we're selling merchandise on that unit. We're selling the story of that unit. There's a lot of other little cash flows that we're doing. We're charging generator hours, gas, past a certain mile. If we're going to dump it, that's in this much. We learned not to call it a cleaning fee. So we charge $100 cleaning fee, but we learned not to, because people think they can leave a mess because you're going to clean it because they're paying for a cleaning fee. So now we call it a sanitation fee or something like that. But it's like, we got to clean it because, there's this crazy thing going around. So we got to really, really clean it. Like sanitize the thing so they clean up their own mess. So we're learning all this stuff. So there's all these other little cash flows besides the $220 a night fee. It's a cool little project that we're working on. And I guarantee, fast forward, because not only does that match with the Northern Star, do y'all know that like when COVID first hit and like government agencies were saying everyone stay in your home, a lot of people didn't. they went to their RVs or bought brand new RVs and just hit the road and was like, screw you guys, I'm out. So we knew that the market was accepting it, loved it, but we knew a lot of people might not want to go out there and buy a 6-figure RV. They may want to try it out, rent it. Let me see how this thing feels. We even got a charge to go and set it up for you if you don't feel comfortable with that. So yeah, the market hit perfect. This is slow season and we've already got it booked pretty good in the first a month and a half since we've had it live.
Yeah, that kind of aligns with my wife and I, our Northern Star, our ultimate goal is to become digital nomads and travel with our kid before he's in school. We have a 7-month-old. And we're going to rent various versions and styles and sizes of RVs and fifth wheels and motorhomes and whatnot. And so we find out what we like, and then we'll buy one, or maybe we'll just rent always. Cause then you don't have to deal with a lot of the maintenance and insurance and upkeep and cleaning and stuff. But similar lifestyle. Like I just really would want to travel around in one of those things. And
I tell you what's really cool. I was just talking to the wife about this. I mean, because we had to take it out first. We had to test it. Again, if you go to YouTube, you'll see that I made some videos of like setup fees or setup videos and all of this. So we had to try it out first. I've never been RVing, but what was pretty cool when I was driving, because I like to drive, is my 3-year-old jumping off the couch, coming up, like neck hugging me and running back. You can't do that with a pool, with a travel trailer. You just can't do that. So it's cool to drive. And if you got pets, like imagine just the dog laying back there and just smiling because he's chilling. And it's just a different lifestyle I see to drive it and have your kids run up and all that than a travel trailer. But I could be wrong. But so far, so good, man. So if you're thinking Class C or one of those Class A big old ones, I love those things.
One more real quick question on this, because I want to get back to the real estate side. But
sure.
When you go on a trip and you're driving it, do you pull a vehicle or no?
No.
Okay. All right, let's go back to the members' questions. Anybody have more questions about Ruben's history, strategy, success, failures, successes?
Hey,
Shabar.
Ruben. What's
What's
going
up,
on, man?
What's up?
Live the dream.
Yes, sir.
My question was, as far as your PCs, what are some of the things you guys implement to like hold each other accountable when you don't meet the mark or you don't make your promise?
With our accountability group, that doesn't happen. We'll cut you out because that's a serious meeting. No one wants to play around because you're playing around with something that's very, very important to us. And if we felt open enough to share it with everyone, then everyone has to respect that. So there are 3 things that you have to do, right? Number 1, be on time. Be on time. If you're 1 minute late, doors locked, go find something else to do because you're not taking this serious, right? So go find some other people to do this with. Number two, bring your calendar because PC, right? You're going to say you're going to do something. I'm going to ask you, awesome, by when? Right? And you have to commit to a date and you have to get it done by then, no matter what. There are no excuses. The only excuses are the ones that you start to build for yourself. And then you're letting yourself down again, right? But as a unit, we work better together through that. And then the last one, which I think is one of the most impactful, is you have to bring your goal. So say for Daniel, it's $5,000 a month. You got to bring your goal and actual. So your goal is $5,000. What did you really do this month? Oh, you hit 4,200. Okay, great. So what do we have to do to fill the 800? Like, because when we started doing this and I started goal and actual, man, and goal was 2,000 and we were bringing in $300 a month. We really had to sit around and say, well, dang, what's the gap? And the gap was X amount. And that's when my buddy Mike, he's a former SF guy, but he don't care about my feelings. He was like, you need to turn that long term into a short term. I was like, man, but things are going crazy in the world. And he was like, shut up. Do it. Because if you don't, you're not really thinking about what you said you wanted to do. So you either show up or you don't. And it's that type of intensity. And you ever see the movies where the guy's going nuts and the other guy slaps him and just brings him back down to reality? That's what those accountability groups are. You're getting slapped the whole time. but you better be on time. Bring your calendar and goal and actual, and you'll be great.
Love it. That's awesome. Anybody else got
Good
a question?
Abby, you got a question. Everyone else is asking questions. Abby, you next. I'm gonna start calling out people, by the way.
Love it. I love it. Can you talk about some of your failures that you've had?
I was talking to the wife the other day, and I was like, would you say that we fail more in a month or win more in a month? And what do you think she said?
Fail. Or
We
win.
fail. No, we fail so much. The good thing is, though, is that the wins are, and even financing, like even the money you make are so big that it wipes out all the failures, you know? So you're going to fail a lot. Let's see if an example of a failure. You know what? I didn't realize when I first started this thing, is how naive I was to trusting people. I'll say that's probably one of my biggest failures, and not say to go out there and don't trust anybody, but I say this now a lot to our people within business. So when you're scaling a business, we look at TSP. So tools, make sure your tools are good, like a calendar, then your systems, and then people. You need tool, systems, and then people. And people is the greatest asset you can have in a business, right? Because they think different, they come up with new ideas, there's collaboration going on, there's an environment, there's culture, all that. But they're also the most volatile thing that you have in your business. You don't know what's going to happen, what they're going to say, how crazy they're going to go, or whatever. And I would say some of the biggest failures is I've trusted people too long. But I learned a lot from those. And it's a weird place, though, because I'd say those are some of my biggest failures, is just trusting people too much. But it kind of puts you in a weird place to where you ever see these entrepreneurs and you're like, man, they seem like a straight Peterhead. Like they're just hard. They're just, they're just very short in conversation. And maybe even I thought that when I first got in the business, but now I start to tend to understand, because they have to kind of watch who's around them, because unfortunately it comes with the territory. Sometimes you don't know who to trust, and that's where these accountability groups, they really do build in a tight circle of people. But probably giving too much trust to people has probably been the biggest hurt moments in business, and watching people I love get backstabbed by people that I thought I loved.
Are you talking about, Ruben, trusting people who are basically, working for you, working with you, or is it more intimate relationships like business partners and that, or all of the above?
All the above, even family.
Okay.
Yeah. So personal and professional. Yeah.
And I'll give you an example right now, and interested to hear any feedback on this about trusting someone too long. The Sheeks Freeze community, Ruben, that we're in right now, I launched a new platform 2, 3, 4 weeks ago. And I love the platform. The platform's great. There's some bugs that we're still working out. But the big jump is going to be when we take that platform and it's going to be an app, a Sheeks Freaks app for the community that will be much more engaging for the members. Cool. So I hired a team led by this guy, Dave, to build out. Well, they built the platform for me and they did an okay job, but now they're building the app for me and it is not going well. Supposed to be done a week ago, and we're still looking at least another month before it's actually launched and tested. Right. And I just keep, letting him go and go and go. And it seems to me like his team is kind of learning as they go with this app build. I don't know that for a fact, but I've considered firing him, and there's another option that I could go to, but there's a lot of intermixed stuff. But I don't know how long I should trust the guy. And so it's a tough decision to say, hey, I'm going to fire you from this job. You can still do my other stuff, but this is off the table for you. But I'm getting really close. Yeah.
So I just fired one of my good friends. He was a contractor on one of our units, fired him. And it's not going well. But what I'll say is when you start to see it not going well, start putting everything in text and email. No more phone calls.
Yeah.
You need to start documenting it all. And because if it goes great, fantastic, right? But you're kind of preparing for the worst, like we are right now. I have to step out. All right, see you, Terry. See you, brother. But yeah, I would start looking at that. But at the end of the day, you got to go with a fierce conversation, because that's what makes solid teams. Who's read The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team? Anybody heard that? That's a great book because it's storytelling. It's not just like telling. It's not just like talking at you. It's a storytelling book. It's called The 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. One of the things you need is confrontation to make a solid team. You need to be okay with confronting people in your team. You need to be okay with that. Everyone needs to be on that same level where it's okay to do so. And everyone has enough trust, because that's the biggest thing. If you don't have trust with somebody, you're not going to talk about it. You hold on to it. You think about it too long. You build it to be something different. It comes out. It's not really what it was. Right. So you have to confront them. The 5 dysfunctions of a team, but yeah, confront him. Same thing I did with my buddy. And it was a straight thing. It was like, I love you, man. And this was bad. I was in Texas. I was at FinCon when I fired him the first time. And I was like, hey, this isn't going well. I need to know at a certain date that you will be completed by, and blah, 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 blah. He said, keep me, man. I promise I'll get it done. He didn't. It went a little over. And I said, you're off this project. We no longer need your services, through text. I fired him. But at least we were clear on what the expectations were before I fired him. It wasn't just sitting around here and I felt like I was getting wronged and they didn't even know it, or they knew it, but the conversation never happened. Move to talk and text and email, keep documentation, and then have a fierce conversation about where you're at with everything.
Yeah. The fierce conversation is coming up. I'd say in the next 2 days, we need to we're scheduling a talk, and then we'll see how that goes. So I see Daniel just put up his hand.
Yeah, a question for you, Ruben. If you had $100,000 per month in passive income starting next month, how would your life change, if at all?
I think I'd have a bigger garage because I'm a car guy. You know what? This is off the top. I'll say this, but I'll also say this, and I don't remember who said it. I thought it was genius. I think it was Mark Cuban. But he said something like, if you can't give $1 and you have $5, you're not going to give $100,000 when you have 500. Because people say, I'll give more when I have more money, right? It's just bull. It's bull. So, but I thinking of that, I wonder if, traveling RV, if I had some of that extra cash, I would fund some of the projects of some of these kids. I would want interest back, right? Just to teach them real business stuff. But I think that'd be cool to be like almost like a kid entrepreneur bank. That would be pretty cool. So it wouldn't be me, I'm changing my life. It'd be more that it'd impact a lot more others with that. If I had $100K passive that came in a month.
That's super cool.
Yeah. Thank you. That's a cool question. All right. I want to hear from someone I haven't heard from. So Isaiah or Jenabelle. I know I see you smiling. It's even dark in your room and I can still see you smiling.
Hi.
What's up?
Okay, yeah. I guess my question is your 3 favorite books that you've read.
The one that changed my leadership was Extreme Ownership. I always go back to that one to be my first one, because I was too kind as a leader. When I figured out that I was only being kind to protect myself, right? Because I wanted everybody to like me. That was a big change in me. And I started to just hold a standard, right? In that book, it says the leader sets the substandard. So I can whine about whatever I want to whine about, because even in there, it says, don't complain about what you tolerate, right? So I could tolerate this and I just want them to be nice to me. And I'm creating a substandard for the whole company. The reason we started breaking all-time records is the reason why some of the top agents didn't like me, because I held a standard. If you came into my office, you better have a goal and actual, everything that we just said. I don't want to talk about the weather. We're here for results. So Extreme Ownership, like changed my whole view. And by the way, like I was harder on those standards. I created higher standards for that company. People were making more money than they've ever made ever. They were helping out more families than they've ever made ever, or helped out ever, right? We made a big difference through higher standards. And that was great. So extreme ownership, I'll give it to that. But what really got me reading was a book called The Kite Runner. Who's read this? The Kite Runner. It has nothing to do with business. I was at UPS and an aha came to me, like, quit listening to music, right? Because yeah, I get psyched and I get like amped up, but I wasn't really feeding my brain, right? So I started listening to audiobooks on a broken iPod. You remember iPods? Y'all probably don't. Y'all remember iPods? Okay.
I do.
Okay, cool. It was a broken screen that a buddy gave me. And I would just download it. Got all the viruses in the world because of doing this, but I got The Kite Runner. It's a story. It's a great story. It has nothing to do with business, but that's what got me listening to books, because I started visualizing myself in that story. So I always bring up that one too. And then, I don't know, this one, huh? Oh, and that guy, Mike, that I talked about, he came up, he made this book, The Elite Investor. Anyways, the third one, I think Think and Grow Rich was a game changer for me. I just, that's back when I was going to school, UPS, single father, all of that, and trying to make everything work, and understanding the power of masterminds and understanding the power of my own mind. Like, it's not get rich and then think, right? It's just think and get rich. So around my, I canceled cable, no longer had cable. On every TV, there was a quote. There's just a new, upbeat quote. And then on all my clocks with a permanent marker, I wrote time to get to work. So no matter what time it was that I wanted to see what time it was, it didn't matter. It was time to get, if I wanted it out of my situation, guess what? It takes work. And it takes more work than you're going to put in than the guy next to you. So it meant no sleep. I mean, I worked the night shift at UPS, and then I did real estate school all throughout the day. And when I went to Keller Williams, they used to buy me toothpicks. It was a joke that I needed to hold open my eyelids, right? Because I just didn't sleep. I just worked. Time to get to work. And I got that from Think and Grow Rich, because basically it said, if you really want it, you have to think it, you have to be it, you have to do what they do, and then you can have what they have. So I was very much in this think state because of that book. I used to have a water bottle in my beat up Crown Victoria I put in the cup holder. And as I was driving, I would switch gears with it like I was in a Lamborghini, not knowing the transmission of this old Crown Vic's about to go out. But I was just like, but I believed it. I had a Mercedes S550 on my door of my bedroom. I had my goals just drilled into my wall in my bedroom. Above my head was a quote. I drowned myself into positivity, multiplying my life, multiplying time because of Think and Grow Rich. So
I want to comment on the Extreme Ownership by Jocko. That book is awesome. And if you guys haven't read it, you should. And my wife and I, whenever something goes wrong on one of our properties, our cleaner isn't doing their job right. And this could, I could apply this to me with the guy that's building out my app. When we're complaining to one another, then one of us will say, well, extreme ownership. What could you have done? What should you have done different when you set up this? And what can we learn so that it doesn't ever happen again? Because if it happens once, we're all going to make mistakes. But if you let it happen again, now that's on you. So we throw that out there all the time. Well, extreme ownership. What did we do wrong?
yeah,
And what can we do better next time?
Well, that's the point, right? Like when you take ownership, you now have the power to change it. If I'm blaming Abby, I'm sitting here waiting for Abby to change it. I could be waiting here. She may not even know she made the mistake, and I'm waiting for her to change it. That makes no sense. If I say that happened because of me, then I start to think, well, hell, because it happened, because I did it, what do I need to do to make sure it doesn't happen again? That's the point. I'm not pushing blame on someone else, waiting for them to change it. And then I get mad because of my current situation. Like I can change it through extreme ownership. Yeah.
And I gotta read this quote from the book that you just held up. I quoted Jocko in the book once, and this is I just love this quote. He said, "I drove a 1997 Dodge Grand Caravan with a driver's side window that didn't work. It was taped shut for 13 years. Whatever. I don't care. I own real estate. Get some." I love that.
So I used to
that
have
was in a
Nissan.
podcast.
Yeah. Who knows what Nissan 240 is? No carpet. Okay. All right. Anyways, I had one growing up, and my driver's side window didn't work either. That's so funny. And the AC didn't work either. So imagine Southern in the South. It was crazy.
I had a similar car in college, a Plymouth Duster. The driver's side door wouldn't shut, so I had to get in and out of the other door. The heater didn't work, so in the winter, the inside of the windshield would frost over, and I had a cassette tape that I would scrape it off with as I was driving. It was pretty bad.
Yeah, I dated this girl. We called her car the Trap because there'd be points where you couldn't get out of it. Their doors weren't even locked. You just couldn't. It was just you were slammed in your body. You were trapped. So we just called it the Trap. Yeah, not safe.
All right, we're about out of time. I guess if there's one more question, we can probably throw it out there real quick. Anybody want to take one more shot at Ruben?
Isaiah, it's your turn. Everybody got a chance.
I think Isaiah, he texted driving. I think he's driving, and so he may not be able to safely ask a question. But we'll give him a moment. Maybe he can. I don't know.
Isaiah, DM me on Instagram and give me a question, my friend, when you park.
There you go.
All right, that's it. All right, who's got another one though? Oh, the last one. Bring it home. It don't have to be like groundbreaking.
Mm-hmm.
No pressure. Oh, there's a thing we do too. When no one says anything, we literally stay quiet till the next person says something. Because there's someone so. Oh yeah. You got a question, Abby?
Sure.
Yes. Okay. Good.
Okay. I'm like recently I'm learning that I love like systemizing things and like I love systems. So I was just wondering like what is your favorite system that you have in place, whether it's for your personal life or business life?
All right. Okay. 3 things came to mind. 1, we need people like you. At my team meetings at that firm, because I had to like run the team meeting, it was twice a month. I always thanked our admin. Always. Not saying you're going to be admin, but if you are a superhero to people like me, because we're building a plane on the way down. Like it's a destruction. There's a mess. We just know how to move forward. There's people that know systems way better than me that clean up our whole life and keep this thing moving forward. Yeah, Jabbar. See, you already got a client. You better charge him. Start your business today. But yeah, so just know that like we need admin in this world. Without them, like my world would have fallen apart. I would have been living on the streets already. So thank you for loving systems. Number 2, there's a personal assessment called DISC. Has anybody heard of this? Okay, so write this down, TonyRobbins.com/ it could be just DISC now, DISC, but it's TonyRobbins.com/ the letter U, the letter E /. That's how I know it to be. And you can take a free DISC assessment. All right, see what you come out to be. It's a personal assessment. It's pretty cool. This is how we find our salespeople and our admin. One of the ways that we find our people. You'll know how well you are with systems through that program. And then my personal, which is number 3, my personal system I like the best, both personal and professional, is free. It's a free system and it's a free tool and it's the best thing that I have. We're able to knock out 12 to 15 appointments, meetings, podcasts, whatever a day and still be done like at 4:30 if I want to. It's what keeps my marriage together. It's what keeps my friendships together, my business partners together. It's what allows us to run an RV business, a short-term rental business, our sales business, our consulting business, our passive income through EXP business, our merch business. and just so on and so forth. The calendar. That is the best tool. And you scale and you hold, man, you grab time and you bring it into your world and you say, I'm going to do stuff at this time from this time, and then I'm going to move to the next thing. If you learn how to use a calendar highly, highly efficient, then you are going to kill it because nothing can stop you. You create time with a calendar. And I actually had a course on this about how we create a month and a half more time than anybody else that was in the audience. We create 13 months in a year, and we do it through the calendar. Scale your time. Actually, again, I have a video called How to Maximize Your Potential, Your Time and Your Potential, or something like that on my YouTube channel. And I go step by step on exactly how you do. You put your priorities in first. And this is what Grant Cardone says too, but you put in your priorities first, your family, date nights, I don't know, hobbies, working out. Working out should be very important to you, right? Because you want to live for a good long time and be healthy. All that, priorities first. And then what it does is and school, right? School. and maybe your job, right? Your obligations. It exposes all your white space within your calendar. All your free time that you're just wasting away playing around. Remember, on my TVs, I put a quote. I found all my white space and I plugged in my 20%. And the rest is history. But it's the calendar. My wife and I live off our calendar. Anytime she wants to do something, she's like, hey, what are you doing the 23rd at 3:00? And I'm like, I'm free. She's like, not anymore. Put me in. We're going to this thing, But now I'm able to respect her time because I'm going to go there and I'm going to be on time and I'm going to be present. Right. So it's the calendar is the biggest thing that has helped me do more. And I got a last thing. And I got another video about how do I get my energy, because I had one of my clients say like, man, where do you get all this energy? It's the calendar, not to kill the video, but watch the video. It's like where I get my energy or something. But what I found is that your energy meets your commitment. Mm-hmm. So what I do is I make commitments like this one at 7:30 at my time. My family's downstairs. I made the commitment. And I get energized because I made the commitment for you guys and I want to show up. Well, you make so much of those small increment appointments throughout the whole day. You're being pulled. You're being pulled through your whole life through commitments you've made to other people. And you get energy off of it. So but the only way I'm staying to my my appointments that I've committed to is through my calendar. Calendar is the biggest thing. I'm a big calendar guy.
I'm a big calendar guy too, Ruben. I love what you said there about the way I always kind of say it is physically, I am up for physically whatever I know I have to do. And so if I know I have a 16-hour day coming up tomorrow, then when I wake up in the morning, my brain tells my body, we got a 16-hour day. We're gonna kill it. Yeah. But if I have like 4 things on my calendar, like for a total of like 2 hours of work, then I'm gonna sleep in because my brain says, oh, we got an easy day. I'm gonna watch TV. I'm gonna not get much done. I'll get done what's on the calendar, but my brain will let my body do what it knows it needs to do. Yeah. So by filling up a calendar, my brain tells my body, we got a long day. Let's just do it. I love that. My calendar is packed also with the priority stuff, right? I mean, like you said, some things need to be in there first.
100%.
All right. We went a little over on time, Ruben. Thanks so much for sticking around, and lots and lots of great advice and nuggets and words of wisdom. Appreciate you, man. We're going to let you get back to your family. Thanks for taking the time. We'll be in touch. How old are you kids now?
3 and 1 turned 16.
And if you like this video and want to see more like it, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our YouTube channel. You should also go check out our website and Instagram, which are both linked below this video. Thanks again for watching. Now go and get your freak on.